Hello, everybody. This is Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, our second episode of our Okla Proud interviews. I have with me today a friend of mine and someone a working mom. I know there are a lot of moms in the state of Oklahoma, well, frankly, around the world right now that are just trying to figure out how they do this at home. And we have amazing small business owners in the state of Oklahoma. My wife's an entrepreneur as well. But Jenna Worthen is with us today with Moms Who Work, which there's not a better name of a company than Moms Who Work. But with that, I'm going to let Jenna kind of just introduce herself. Jenna, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Matt. I was honored that you asked. I started Mom Who Works. The idea came to me in 2016. I was on a run, and I just was feeling weary of, the momming, the working, all of it. And it wasn't because I didn't feel weary because I was done working. I love working. I was done with the label working mom and what that meant. So what I found was that was often indicative of lesser pay, less career mobility, higher expectations, mom guilt, just like it runs the whole gamut. So I just kind of felt like I had this idea of reframing it to become a mom who works. And what does that look different? Part of it too is, I don't know, no one's probably ever called you a working dad, right?
Yeah.
You're a dad who works. And, if you call working mom, I knew in that season, my work often comes first, but not as much as it used to, right? My kids started to come first, my family. So in 2018, I should say, I launched it. We're an online community for working moms. We host meetups. We actually, due to the circumstances, had to cancel our first retreat that we had scheduled at the end of April.
Yeah,
So
you had a really big retreat planned. A lot of people signed up for it.
yeah,
If you don't follow Jenna online, you've got to follow Jenna online as well. We'll give your Twitter handle out as well. But how many moms did you have, working moms did you have signed up for that
yeah, we
retreat?
were planning on selling 250 tickets.
Wow.
I was bringing in a big speaker, and just, I wanted to give just a world-class experience to the Oklahoma City moms who work. I had friends coming in from out of town, and, when you're on there just hitting refund, all your tickets, it's devastating, and it's nothing compared to what a lot of our small business owners are experiencing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So tell me a little bit, how does the Moms Who work again? So for example, I mean, you were going to get these 250 working moms together, obviously sharing best practices and resources. Are you building out a curriculum for this as well? How does that work?
Yeah, those are great questions. I have tried to take this slow and be intentional and fundamentally believe that what's for me isn't going to go away if I just take the next right step every chance I can. So I still fully operate a consulting company for political candidates and nonprofits around fundraising, and that's my bread and butter, and then as I'm able, I've poured my heart and soul into Mom Who Works. So what it is now is meetups, retreats, masterminds, and a lot of emphasis around shared stories and connection. So I believe that our shared stories lessen isolation. Motherhood alone can be isolating. Add actual isolation that we're experiencing now, and I just think it's very difficult. We are rolling out a new story series this week about on being a mom who works during a pandemic, and the stories I've had pouring in where, women that, balancing work and motherhood is already hard, but now we're also expected to teach. You add the chaos of being in your home. A lot of us had help in our home, be it nannies or housekeepers or whomever that we can't have right now. And working all that out too with your parenting partner and who does what and when. And, I'm sure you and Lisa are working through that as well too. And, just a lot of added layers. So, my dream for this is I would love to consult with companies on how we can craft work environments that are best to maintain top talented women.
Mm.
Too often, we shouldn't lose our jobs to go to our kids' assembly, and
Yeah, that's
just kind of
good. That's really
the
good.
one thing I'm hopeful about all of this is kind of reframing what does work look like? Back when I was doing my initial research around this, it was predicted that by 2020, half the workforce would be freelance, and I'd imagine a lot of people are going to be looking for those solutions again, especially in these times. And,
Yeah.
What does that look like, and how does that change the dynamics of workplace environment and flexibility for families and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. There's certainly a need for the consulting services again with, big companies or small, but I would certainly say large companies. I mean, take Paycom, for example, which is a wonderful company in Oklahoma, one of the fastest growing companies in the world, for goodness sakes. There's a lot of working moms at Paycom.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that work? And bringing someone in to kind of talk through that. I think it's a really good niche that I don't think a lot of companies probably think about.
Well, and one thing I like to tell our moms too is like balancing motherhood and careerhood starts before you even get pregnant. So if you are not, doing excellent work and being dependable and consistent before you introduce motherhood dynamics, I don't know how much you can ask of your company, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but when you see, I met with some gals that are, our nursing shortage, looking at that before all of this happened. And so many of those women couldn't find the right childcare options or flexible benefits that they needed, and I really want us to have those conversations because, 4 in 10 women are breadwinners now.
Mm.
And 70% of women with kids under 18 are working, I mean, that's a significant dynamic and we have to address it.
Yep, we do. So you mentioned it a little bit here, but your message to moms that are juggling all of this right now. I mean, juggling, I think, is a right way to put it. Being mom, working a full-time job, as you said, the statistics alone in 2020, the number of working moms that we have. So they're trying to work full-time. They're trying to be a mom. They're trying to talk to their kids about what is going on. Some lines, some thoughts for moms that are really trying to juggle all of that right now.
Yeah. So the thing I'm hearing the very most from my community as I'm collecting these stories of being a mom who works during a pandemic is that first and foremost, we've got to have some grace for ourselves, for those around us. This is not the time to, just because you're at home doesn't mean you need to be working on your home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you don't have time to do it Monday through Friday when you're going to work, take it off your plate Monday through Friday at home. Spring cleaning doesn't need to be done on Tuesday at noon. And I know it's hard because the chaos around us can feel insurmountable and we want to just tame it. But find opportunities, be it, find a dedicated space in your home that you're just going to control the clutter in that little corner for now. Go outside, and just give yourself some grace that you can't do all of it. We're not supposed to, Matt,
Right.
there's a
Right.
reason why my kids go to school and there's a reason why I have a nanny or we have daycare or we have
Yeah.
these things. And at the end of the day, I think that we will survive this when we care well for those we love and lead.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah, grace is a word we use a lot around this house these right now as well. Well, how are you taking advantage of it? Again, the juggling is one thing. We focus a lot on that, but I think there's also we should be asking, how do we take advantage of this time as well to get things done with your business? You know, there's starting to be some conversation right now about, hey, this is really, we're being gifted some more time as well with our families, but potentially those that have businesses, maybe a little bit more time to think through what they need to be doing to take steps when it comes to further business development. So things you're doing to kind of take advantage of this time as well.
Yeah, so I think I want to give you kind of 2 aspects on this. So I think the first thing is for those of us who find our fundraising work is a lot on halt right now, and what I'm doing is instead of the time I would spend working, in my business and serving my clients, I'm redirecting that time to work on my business. So that looks like website rewrites that have been long overdue. That looks like list work and prep and those kinds of things that, the bookkeeping, the housekeeping, those kinds of things that always get pushed off to the wayside because they're not as urgent as what is happening in that moment. Those are things I'm really working on. What are kind of some of those guides I need to have in place with my employees? What are some of the checklist items? I like to call it, if I win the lottery one day and I up and leave my company, what do I want to have in place to pass it off to somebody else? So I think those are opportunities, reassessing some of your marketing, whatever that might look like. And if you're not a business owner, I still do think you have those things as an employee that you can be working on too. So, Matt, at the end of the day, my number one focus is keeping my business afloat to pay my people.
Yeah.
Right. And so we cannot ignore the stress of that. Like right now for too many small businesses, it's if they don't get a small business assistance loan, if they don't get some of these things shored up in a month, none of this is going to matter.
That's right. That's right. That's why we kind of our first interview was with Brent Kissling at the Department of Commerce. Hey, tell me the five biggest questions that you're being asked right now, and a lot of them center around that. How do you help me stay in business? Tell me what the state can do and what the federal government can do, and help. Some help is coming, but no, there's no doubt about it. I can tell you one of the things we're doing with our business too, going directly to what you said, taking the time, from a marketing perspective, for example. Spending a little bit of time to say, okay, hey, is the amount of money that we're spending on Facebook ads, and doing a little bit of research on that, is that where we should be spending marketing dollars? Reading a couple articles from experts when it comes to, again, if it is marketing that is not your expertise, reading a few articles about marketing and where a lot of times we don't have time during a normal business week. This is not normal anymore.
Right.
And taking the time to really research an area of your business that you're not an expert on can go a long way too. I know that's one of the things we're certainly doing with Binksy Baby.
Yeah. One thing I would like to advise, especially moms or whoever is the primary, my husband and I are totally in this together, but the reality is he has work to be doing that is far greater than the amount of work I have to be doing right now. Right. So our balance is going to be that I'm thinking about the household things and, that kind of thing, but look at it in time blocks and look at it in maybe even themed days. So on Monday, I'm going to focus on this. On Tuesday, I'm going to focus on this, so that you're not trying to get 100 things done every day. You're trying to get 2 or 3 really important things done those days. And then think about your own personal, natural energy levels. So I'm a morning person. So that used to mean my mornings were spent, like I could get an early workout in and I could do all this stuff. Well, instead, I'm working out at 3 or 4 with my kids in tow because they enjoy it. Actually, to the point it's kind of annoying. Like, no, I do not want to do a high intensity workout today. Like, please get off my back about it, But instead, I'm using those peak times to work because I know that if I can sprint for 2 hours in my peak energy time, I can often get a whole day's worth of work done, So if you're every day when you're in the office from 2 to 4, you're just kind of, that's when you schedule your conference calls and stuff anyway. Those are not the peak times. Maybe those are a time for family connection and some of those other things that, are the perks of this difficult situation that we're in.
Well, and you kind of, it's a good segue into that. And the next question I had was really time management. I know with us, we have a calendar, we have a daily kind of schedule where we try to adhere to, but schedules were a huge deal for us before we were in the middle of this crisis that we are in right now. Some time management, nuggets that you would have for working moms, specifically as because April is closed. As we say, April's closed. And by the way, it's not even April yet. We may release this episode tomorrow, which will be April 1. So the month of April is closed. At most everything is going to be closed. So moms and dads and grandparents that are taking care of kids, whatever it looks like, you got a month here of time management skills that we have got to learn, and we've got to learn them quickly. But any little nuggets, things that you guys are working on when it comes to time management, either with your business or just, with your kids?
Yeah. So I think that the first thing is to remember how much just low grade anxiety we're all carrying, right? Like you've got this other layer of stress that's just permeating everything. And as this pandemic spreads, by the end of next week, we're all going to know somebody who's had it, who has it, who's battling it, those kinds of things. So again, I go back to those energy levels, but time blocking is what I would just really push you to do. So the best thing you can do is just look at a whole week, look at how much time you think you're going to have, right? Because our calendar is our capacity. And it looks a little bit differently right now, but finding those rhythms, finding those time blocks, and knowing too that like maybe it's after bedtime instead of watching my shows for a while, I'm going to have to work until midnight.
Yeah, other than Tiger King.
Other than Tiger King, which we do have
totally.
our last episode to watch tonight. So don't spoil anything for me, finding those, give yourself some blocks of time. Work with your spouse, parenting partner, whoever you're isolating with, to find those rhythms so that some time can be predictable. So I'm calling it my set office hours. They're going to be these 2 hours. And if I have to set an email reminder that says away message that says, I am working, I will for sure answer between these 2 times.
Yeah. That's very similar to what we're doing. 2-hour time blocks is what we're trying to do. I give Lisa 2 hours. She gives me 2 hours. When I have to be in Oklahoma City, obviously that doesn't work. But when I'm here, and most of the time I'm here right now, these 2-hour time blocks, she gets 2, I get 2. We're trying our best to but I like the way that you described that. They are blocks. They're blocks of time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or heck, 30 minutes. Right. I really like that.
Well, and don't waste your time on domestic tasks. Like, when you, again, it's your peak energy hours, or like if you've got your 2 hours and laundry's your task to do not waste it during those times. It's going to pile up a little bit, and some of those things have got to go to the wayside.
Yeah. Well, I know your kids, I have two more questions. The second to last year, your kids are old enough to know what's going on. What message, what have you really talked to them, you and Trevor both? I mean, what's your message to your kids right now with this pandemic and what's going on? I mean, this is a lot of people, this is kind of their 9/11. These kids growing up today, and when someone kind of told me that, you're kind of right. You'll always remember where we were on 9/11. We will always remember where we were when this started to happen. But what are you telling your kids about what's going on right now?
Yeah. So my boys are 6 and 4, and then we've got a 4-month-old. And what we have talked to them about is, first of all, we have not tried to hide it from them. But what we've talked about to them is how we phrased it is, hey guys, listen. So there is a sickness going around, because that's what they understand. In the beginning, we were able to say it primarily affects, older people that we love, which they're too little. We haven't shifted that narrative a whole lot. But when it comes to us not being able to spend time with people we love, what we've talked about is it's highly contagious. So what that means is it's very easy to catch it from one another. Remember how a tummy bug can go through your class and everybody gets it? This is the same kind of thing. And because we value our friendships and we value those we love, we've got to be very careful to stay home and keep our social distance so that we can keep them safe. Yeah. And I know it's going to take a while, but we can FaceTime. We've been writing letters to our classmates. This is how we can care well for those we love. Yeah. That's how we've talked about it. One thing my parents didn't appreciate was, at first it was, we've really got to keep because they were concerned why they couldn't see their grandparents. Mm-hmm. So, well, older folks are really struggling with this. We've got to be careful. Well, our grandma and grandpa, they need to stay home and rest. And they sent them a video like, you're old, stay home. And my mom was like, seriously, thanks for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of older people feeling much older now, being defined as old, and they need to stay home. Yeah, we all need to stay home. But no, that's good. I like that. What is something, again, you're a working mom, those that are going to be watching this, hopefully a lot of dads too, and, messages, what are you doing for your time, to have a little bit of time to yourself? But, I'm blessed that I'm married to a working mom as well. And so she's very blunt with me about what she needs as a working mom. But, just tell me what you're doing for, again, kind of to have, because moms and dads both, but working moms certainly need their own time as well. Because I think it's a good lesson for those listening to this that may have a working mom in the house, to give them a little bit of space and a little bit of time.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Matt. And I'm sure that Lisa appreciates that you hear that and receive it. Yeah, I mean, I think that the difficulty is going to be some people are having conversations they've maybe not had to have before around
Yep,
division
very
of
good
work
point.
and
Very
labor
good
in
point.
their homes. And so give some grace to your parenting partner or spouse who maybe hasn't thought about that before, or this is a radical shift for them. We, again, just to reference us, like we've had a nanny and we have a housekeeper, and those people have helped with the domestic chores that neither of us want to do.
Yep.
And now here we are having to think about how to do those. So, I think it's giving each other a lot of grace. And then I actually created a printable. You can go on momwhoworks.com/blog, and there's a blog post up there explaining it. Or if you go and be an email subscriber, you can download it. But we created 19 guides for togetherness.
That's really cool.
And so
Great.
what does that look like? Like, first of all, proper hygiene. I've got these dirty little boys that are outside all day now,
Yeah.
Assuming good intent, to just kind of start there, that like we're going to handle conflict with compassion, and just know that we're all just kind of teetering on an edge that we're not used to. And those are kind of some things, I also, James Clear, Atomic Habits, one of the best books I've read. He talks about cues, and so we've divided, and, I do morning time, Trevor does bedtime. And instead of sitting on the couch, I walk past the couch, and that's real important. And I head for a bath, or I head for yoga. Because if I park my rear end on the couch, I watch 4 episodes of Tiger King, and I maybe don't feel any of that alone time, So finding some of those cues and, staying home, but, if somebody needs to go out, you don't have to take all the kids with you, like getting that alone time. I think that that's important.
So I was going to end on it. You mentioned your website, but it sounds like there's a lot of great information on Mom Who Works. Now, give me the URL one more time.
Yeah, sure. So momwhoworks.com.
Okay.
But you can read all of our stories. I mean, our Instagram is full. And that's a lot of just shared stories. And there'll be more that come. If someone wants to share their story, I would love to have it. And then we're going to host a virtual meetup in place of our real life meetup on April 30th. So that information will be rolling out too. And the last thing I want to tell people, Matt, that the number one survival guide to all of this is gratitude.
Yeah.
I am so fortunate and thankful for margin in my life to care for others, be that financially or with your time. Check in on your people. But it's easy to spiral, and that's okay. We got to feel our feelings. I'm jokingly tomorrow, instead of April Fool's Day, calling it April Feels Day.
I saw that.
Let's cut out the pranks and let's feel our feels on this, but if we can just find a few things to be grateful for every day, it's going to really make this storm easier to weather.
Well, listen, I love your heart. I love the business. I love following you on social media. So those watching this, please follow Jenna. A lot of awesome resources. God bless you. You and Trevor, tell Trevor I said hi, and we will all get through this. Oklahoma has been through a lot of highs and a lot of lows. We'll all get through this. What we're trying to do kind of with these interview series is bring some hope. And certainly you have today. So it's why I wanted to make sure that I interviewed you. So thanks for giving up a little bit of your time today.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.